The Tony Awards are premiering June 8th, and the original cast of Hamilton will be performing in honor of the 10-year anniversary of the show originally opening on Broadway in 2015. Over 24 members from the original cast are set to return, including Lin Manuel Miranda, Leslie Odom Jr., and Philippa Sue. This got me thinking of the cultural and personally to me significance of Hamilton over the last 10 years, and I knew I wanted to make a video about it. Hi, my name is Alex, I'm a writer and composer, and I've gone on record saying Hamilton is one of the best things that exists. Lin Manuel Miranda spent years and years cultivating and creating something that plays with so many traditions in popular culture, while at the same time being so new and original. It gained immense popularity and remains relevant years after its original performances. Of course, Hamilton's not the first musical to include rapping. In the Heights, another show by Lin Manuel Miranda, went to Broadway years before. But the idea to pair rap and hip-hop with something like the founding fathers of America, something that is so far removed from the culture and traditions of rap, is genius. Throughout the show, Lin pays homage to famous rappers and artists by quoting them. At the same time, you can clearly see that Lin was inspired by classic musical theater that he grew up with. Act 2 starts with the song What Did I Miss?, a jazzy blues number introducing Thomas Jefferson to the audience for the first time. And of course, anything sung by King George probably sounds the most musical theater, complete with wide belting lines and a big chorus that comes in at the end. On top of that, Lin Manuel Miranda and music director Alex Lacamoire baked so many themes and motifs in the show that change and help to tell the story throughout. Characters, places, and ideas are all represented musically, which provides a huge emotional connection to what is actually happening on stage. With so many different inspirations and styles, Hamilton really shouldn't work. The reason why it does is a genuine respect and connection to all of those influences. What I find most inspirational about Lin Manuel Miranda is his ability to be truly himself in all of his writing. He loves musicals and also loves hip-hop, and has a sense of humor. When you listen to Hamilton or In the Heights or Encanto or Moana, it sounds like Lin. You can feel that those are Lin songs. How they function, what they choose to focus on. It's him. To me, his ability to sound authentically him in so many different contexts is truly amazing and easily makes him one of the best writers around today, in my opinion. But not everyone always thought that. When Hamilton was first attracting buzz for its Tony season, I was a senior in high school. I remember finding Hamilton songs on Pandora, yikes, and thinking, what is this? The first song I ever heard was actually The World Was Wide Enough, the penultimate song of the entire show. I remember thinking during the spoken word breakdown, wow, he's saying so many powerful words. I bet these are themes throughout the show. I started listening through the album on Pandora, remember, so it was not in order. I would just type in Hamilton and piece together what was happening, and I was hooked. I got Spotify a little while after, and the first thing I did was drive around and listen to all of Hamilton in chronological order, which was a religious experience for me. I was the person bringing up Hamilton every chance I could. For months, it was all I could think about. But the story of Hamilton starts years before me discovering it on Pandora. In 2004, Ron Chernow, a historic author, wrote a biography about Alexander Hamilton. That same biography was read by Lin Manuel Miranda while on vacation. He immediately began to envision the story of one of America's founding fathers told through rap and hip-hop. In 2009, Lin Manuel Miranda was invited to a poetry event held at the White House. He was asked to perform songs from In the Heights, but instead, he premiered the opening number to what he was calling the Hamilton mixtape.
I'm thrilled the White House called me tonight because I'm actually working on a hip-hop album. It's a concept album about the life of someone I think embodies hip-hop, Treasury Secretary Alexander Hamilton. You laugh, but it's true. How does a bastard orphan son of a whore and a Scotsman dropped in the middle of a forgotten spot in the Caribbean by providence, impoverished and squalor, grow up to be a hero and a scholar?
I have never gotten through that video without crying. I watched it before writing this part of the script and had to take a break. Yes, Lin Manuel Miranda is not the strongest vocalist, especially in 2008. And yes, out of context, the show and Lin is a little dorky, so it makes sense that people laughed at the presentation. But they laughed. Nobody in that room knew what the show would become, how it would fundamentally change the course of art and history in the modern day. In 2013, Hamilton got its first workshop at Vassar College. For the workshop, they performed Act 1 as it was written at the time and 3 songs from Act 2. Besides the length, the production of the show was also very stripped down. Alex Lacamoire music directed the production with only a piano and a drum set. No music production effects like record scratches or delay throws were present, which is crazy because that is such a big part of Hamilton's sound. But it still totally works. Miranda was still playing Hamilton, but this production brought us Daveed Diggs and Christopher Jackson playing Lafayette/Thomas Jefferson and George Washington, respectively, for the first time. Of course, they would stay on these roles all the way to Broadway. There's actually an audio recording of this workshop on YouTube. Listening to it now is really interesting to see how different the show became from 2013 to 2016. Most of the pieces are there, but little changes really make the show pop, in my opinion. There were other workshops. Hamilton ran off-Broadway in January 2015 at the Public Theater. Eventually, all the original cast members gathered together, and Hamilton opened on Broadway August 2015 at the Richard Rodgers Theater, the same theater that hosted In the Heights back in 2008. And the rest is history from there. The show went on to win near unanimous critical and audience acclaim. It won 11 Tony Awards during its season. There have been tours and performances through North America, Puerto Rico, Australia, the West End. The cast album won a Grammy. They released the Hamilton mixtape. And aside from the year where all theater was suspended due to the COVID-19 pandemic, Hamilton has been running somewhere since its original premiere. Man, I felt bad for any other musical competing that year at the Tonys. Every show that's nominated for Best Musical performs at the Tonys. Before Hamilton's performance, Barack and Michelle Obama, the President and First Lady of the USA at that time, sent in a video about how great Hamilton is and how it's inspiring a whole generation of young Americans to learn US history. Quote, "Hamilton is a civics lesson where rap is the language of revolution and hip-hop its urgent soundtrack." This all happens before Best Musical is announced. Next, Common walks up to the mic. He speaks about how Hamilton is a game changer, a once-in-a-generation defining piece of art that we are all lucky to witness. Simply put, it's one of the greatest pieces of art ever made. They still haven't announced Best Musical. Then they perform. And you may notice that they don't have rifles on stage. The 2016 Tony Awards premiered June 12th, the same day as the Pulse nightclub shooting. The cast decided to perform the choreography without guns in respect to the tragedy, which adds a whole other layer to the performance, making it stronger and more memorable. I can just imagine the creators of what even ran that year? I can just imagine the creators of Shuffle Along during these speeches. Yeah, the actual president just said that Hamilton's the best thing ever, but we might still have a chance. Yeah, Common just said Hamilton is redefining what theater is, but we could still pull through. Wow, they're performing the choreography without guns, making the idea of the show relevant today, while in itself being an act of protest against injustice that's being done right now. Yeah, maybe we should just leave. No shade to Shuffle Along or any of the other shows that ran that year. It was actually pretty stacked. You had Waitress, Shuffle Along, Bright Star, and School of Rock all competing for Best Musical that year. While Fiddler on the Roof, Spring Awakening, She Loves Me, and The Color Purple were all nominated for Best Revival. It was a good year at the Tonys. So Hamilton was a huge success financially, but I also think it's important to talk about Hamilton's cultural impact. In interviews, Lin Manuel Miranda talked about the diversity of the casting, stating that he wanted to cast these dead white men how America looks today. Hamilton's cast features many performers and artists of color, and that is intentional. They wanted to let people leave any cultural baggage they had about the Founding Fathers at the door. This is really cool, but opinions about it were mixed, especially in the years following Hamilton, with the death of George Floyd and the Black Lives Matter movement growing in prominence in America. The culture was changing, and many people were upset that Hamilton portrayed old, dead, white slave owners as the protagonists in the story. While I do see validity in this argument, and I definitely don't think I'm the voice you should listen to when it comes to oppressed people portraying their oppressors in media, but I think what Hamilton did is too genius and well executed to be considered inappropriate or a mistake. Renee Elise Goldsberry, who played Angelica Schuyler, stated that we have the opportunity to reclaim a history that some of us don't necessarily think is our own. And that is what Hamilton feels like, a reclaiming of history for a new generation. Could you consider Hamilton nationalistic propaganda? I guess, but when you look at what Hamilton is and who Lin Manuel Miranda is, I think it's clear that that's not what it is. Hamilton is art, and I do believe that art is inherently political. That's just how it is. But with that lens, I think it's very clear what Hamilton stands for. If other people or audience members read into it a different way, I don't think that's the show or Lin Manuel Miranda's fault. Besides political controversies, Hamilton also made huge strides in educating young people. EduHam was a program that was set up to give high school students from Title I schools, or schools where the majority of students come from low-income households, the chance to engage with history through the arts. The students got the opportunity to watch the show, study historical documents and texts about Alexander Hamilton, and then use all of that information to create their own art based off what they learned. The project launched in 2015, and by 2019, over 1,300 schools had benefited from the program. I feel like this is really slept on. When I was in college, I had to take an American history course. I was a music major, so it was nothing too crazy, just your standard basics. But you know I didn't have to study when anything near Hamilton's timeline came up. Art has such a unique ability to capture minds and cultivate understanding through creativity, and nothing exemplifies that more than Hamilton. Hamilton truly is so much more than a musical. Madison and I talk about this all the time. When we're discussing our favorite musicals, we don't even put Hamilton on the list because it defies what a musical is. It defies ranking. I truly feel so lucky to have been born in a time where Hamilton exists. It is art of the highest caliber. But what makes it so good? We've spent a good amount of time talking about the impact and come up of Hamilton. I now want to talk about how the show is inspiring me even 10 years later. I'm a music person, so I'm going to talk about the music of the show. But make no mistake, every artist on the crew understood the assignment. The set, the costumes, the choreography, props, concept, everything about Hamilton is perfectly executed and works together to tell the most cohesive story possible. Every opportunity to help the audience understand the themes of the show was taken, and it's obvious how much love and care was put into every element of the show. When the recorded stage version was released for streaming, there was a resurgence in popularity for a character in the show known as the Bullet. The Bullet isn't a traditional character in the sense that one person doesn't play it, it's more of an idea. Mainly embodied by Ariana DeBose, but also by the ensemble as a whole. The Bullet shows up throughout the show to foreshadow the deaths of specific characters. There is no mention of this in any dialogue or songs. This idea is only conveyed through choreography, movement, and staging throughout the show. It is next level. Hamilton is what I call a motif show. A motif or leitmotif is a small musical idea that's supposed to represent something in a story. It could be a person, place, a feeling, anything really. Another composer who's famous for including motifs in their work is Stephen Sondheim. Shows like Into the Woods and Sweeney Todd are built on just a few key motivic ideas, themes that get twisted and repurposed throughout the show. There's actually a really funny interview clip where Sondheim describes his process of writing motifs. He says he likes them because he can be lazy with them. Once he has a piece of music done, he will use it again and again, changing it slightly each time, and the audience thinks it's genius.
The characters' little cells, you know they're going to collide, so you start melding them together. So eventually, when you get to the big moments, there is a sense of structure because you've been using the material that you've been setting up all the way through. I found, incidentally, this sounds so pretentiously intellectual, but in fact, what it does is save you a huge amount of work. Because if you can take, I got this idea, and I got this idea, and I got it. Now I'm going to build a score. You don't have to invent very much, do you? You take this one, and you turn it upside down, and it's a new tune. You take this one, you take the harmonies and say, instead of major, let's make it minor. And suddenly it's a new song. You take this one, and everybody says, oh, see how he held the score together.
It's so fertile.
Exactly. And of course, it's not a...
In Hamilton, almost every character has a theme that is repeated throughout the show. Alexander Hamilton wants to seize the moment and make the most out of his life. His theme is shown to us through the song My Shot, where it is stated clearly that he is not throwing away his shot. On the opposing side, Aaron Burr prefers to wait for the right moment to get what he wants. He is calculating and takes less risks than Hamilton. His motif is heard in the song Wait For It. Every action these two take throughout the show goes back to their main themes. These themes tell you everything you need to know about the characters and how they're going to react in different situations. Other characters have motifs as well. Eliza's theme is helpless, which is how she feels meeting Alexander Hamilton the first time at a party. Angelica has the theme satisfied. which Hamilton actually playfully states to her upon their first meeting. You strike me as a woman who has never been satisfied. You're like me, I've never been satisfied. But the best motifs are ones that change throughout the course of a story. Hamilton and Burr are two opposing viewpoints on life. One will not take a day for granted and seize every opportunity because they know that tomorrow isn't promised to them. The other will lie in wait for the perfect opportunity that they feel is owed to them. Throughout the show, we see Hamilton and Burr go from friends to enemies, which culminates in a duel between the two. Aaron Burr is running for president, and Hamilton decides to endorse his opponent, Thomas Jefferson, instead of Burr. Feeling personally betrayed by this, Burr challenges Hamilton to a duel, and Hamilton accepts. Already, the choice to jump into a death match is uncharacteristic for Burr and his main theme. Earlier in the show, we saw Burr talk about how immature duels are and how they solve nothing. We can see through the character motif that has been set up that Burr is unraveling as a character. So the duel comes, and in the final moment after they have drawn their guns and counted down, something devastating happens. In the fit of anger that has taken Burr, he turns around and fires at Hamilton, only to realize that Hamilton had his gun pointed to the sky. Earlier in the show, Hamilton told his own son to use the same tactic when he was challenged to a duel. Fire your gun in the air, that way you don't hurt anyone, and at the same time you don't lose any pride from saying no to a duel. Hamilton never wanted to duel Burr. He still considered him his friend. In doing so, Hamilton literally throws away his shot, the antithesis to every motivation he's had in the show. And as Burr's gun goes off, dealing a fatal blow to his only friend, Burr cries out, "Wait," knowing that it's already too late. He didn't wait for it. The one time Burr acted impulsively throughout the show, the worst case scenario happened. This utterly destroyed me upon the first listening through the show. Not only are the actions in themselves dramatic, but because we've had these two themes relating to these characters throughout the entire show, when they are subverted, it hits incredibly hard. You know both Hamilton and Burr's motivation for acting the way they do, and you see how being around each other has changed those ideas and actions, for better or for worse. And this is just one example of how Hamilton is so thought through and detailed with its storytelling. Whenever people ask me my favorite musical, I have to say Hamilton. Nothing even comes close. After sweeping its Tony season, Hamilton was everywhere, so I understand how people can think it's overplayed. But it was overplayed because it was fantastic. People say that Hamilton is a basic answer if you ask them what your favorite musical is, which is crazy to me because if it wasn't one of the most popular shows in the world, it would be one of the most niche musicals I could even think of. Oh, you have to check out this show. It's a fully wrapped through retelling of the Revolutionary War with minimal set design but elaborate period costumes. It is a testament to the creativity and talent of everyone who worked on the show that all these different elements didn't fall apart on stage, let alone made one of the most genre-defining pieces of art in this generation. Or ever. God, I love Hamilton. And this was a brief retrospective of Hamilton 10 years later. There is still so much to say about the show. We didn't even break down any of the actual music in Hamilton. If you would be interested in a video going through the themes of the Hamilton score, let me know. I would love to make that video if somebody will watch it. I hope you go rewatch Hamilton and notice something you haven't before. If you liked this video, let me know, and share this to a theater friend who needs to be reminded of how great Hamilton is. Subscribe to this channel for more videos talking about music and stories, and make sure to ring the bell so you never miss an upload. Happy Tony Awards to everyone, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.